Hello and welcome to this demo video for the Vertex CAD Reporting Tool. What is the Vertex CAD Reporting Tool? Well, it is a new simplified way of creating lists, for example saw lists, in a much easier and a much more flexible way. It is an online tool and you can find it at cadreporting.com. There you can create your own personal user account. Each company can have multiple accounts. There's also a section to check your beam lengths, so you can configure standard lengths per profile, and when you've drawn them too long in Vertex PD, you get a notice in the tool. You can make, combine and save your own filters, and you can also make, combine and save your own layout. So with a combination of these two tools, you can create a diverse amount of lists which you need for your company. When all this setup work has been done, you can have PDF output and also Excel output. We are also still building a calculation tool so you can calculate how much a project will cost. Before you can start in the CAD Reporting Tool, you have to export a file from Vertex PD, which is the components.xml file. I will now show you how to extract this file from Vertex PD. This is the project which I will be using. So to extract the components.xml file, I have to go to Output and I have to generate a list using the old method. Now my list has been made and I can just close it. I can go to my project folder and here I can see that my components.xml file has been generated. To log in, you just open your browser and you go to cadreporting.com. Then you see this welcoming screen. To log in, you can use your phone number. Just type it in here. Note that in the beginning you should use your land code. So +32 for Belgium, then your number. And then you can press send code. So I have received my verification code and I can now enter it here. Then I click login and I can see that I am logged in. So you now see the user interface of the tool. It is divided into 4 sections. First, we have the Manage section. Here is where you manage your projects and your filters, and you can also exit from this account and use another account. The second section is Beams Control. Here's where you manage the lengths of your different profiles, but we will dig into this later. The third section is Saw Lists. Here's where you will make your lists. And then the fourth category is the calculation tool, which is still under construction. Now we can start by uploading a new project. And we can do this here in 2 ways. You can drop your component file within this frame, or you can select your file using this method. But I have it here, so I can just drop it. The file has been uploaded. This is the name, the project date, and the version in which it has been created. I can now go back to the overview and I can see it here. If I click this cloud icon, my project will be loaded. And I can see now that the name appears here, left in the screen, and this means that it has been loaded. So I can now go to Beams Control, and I see here a list of my profiles. And I see in the comment section there are profiles from which the length has not been defined yet. I can go here to undefined lengths to see all the profiles that are not yet defined. If I click on one of these profiles, I get this screen and I can type here for this profile the maximum length. When I want to do this for all of these profiles at once, I can go to Configure Beam Lengths. I can click it here or I can click it here. Here I have an overview of all of my profiles which have not yet been defined. If I click on this button, I go back to the previous page. If I click here, I can show all of the reference beams. If I click on this one, I can see only the beams in this project. So in this overview, you see every beam which has been uploaded for every project. If I want to give certain profiles a certain length, I can just select them here. So for instance, I'll select these and I will give them a default length of 5,400. Okay. So here's my result. I can do the same for all of these profiles at once, and I can give them a maximum length for this project of 5,700. For instance. So if I now select all of these, I can deselect the ones that I already gave length, and I give them a default length of 6,000. Okay, so as you can see, all of the lengths have been defined. So when I go now to undefined lengths, this should be empty, and it is. So if I go to acceptable lengths, I can see now in the comment section that all of my lengths are okay. When I go to configure beam lengths and I look at the maximum length for this project, I can, for instance, here type in 2,100, and then I see in my too long section there are profiles which are too long. You can see it in this comment here. As you can see, this list contains the summary of a profile, but you can also view a detailed version of this profile with all the different lengths it contains. So I can do that with this button. So I can see now a detailed list containing all these profiles. I can filter it. So my lengths, the biggest lengths are shown in the front. So I see now I have lengths higher than 7 meters. If I click on the profile, I just type in 8100. This profile has lengths going up to 2.5 meters. So I'll make this 3 meters. And then the last one contains a length of 7,200. So I'll give this a length of 7,500. Now you see there are no lengths anymore that are too long. If I go back to configure beam lengths, I can see the changes that I have made here. So these deviate from my default length. If I don't want to deviate from my default length, I have to go back to my project and cut the profile up. So it's also a control mechanism for that. So now we can start to create our list. We go to saw list, and here we see there are multiple divisions. You have frame, and you have loose parts. And in the frame, there's also a division between the different layers of this group. So you can choose profiles, battens, siding, sheeting, and insulation. When I choose profile, you see here there is already a filter created on which it filters all the profiles. And all these profiles are shown here. So this is the summary. But now let me explain all these functions here. First of all, you see here the title of the project, then how you can group your list. So when I click here, I see all these parameters which I can use to create different groupings. You can also add a certain group and then add another group which creates a filter on top of a filter. So this is to group your data. This is specifically to filter your data. If you add this here, you can create your new filter. You can also select here one of the parameters. For instance, the length should be equal to, not equal to, greater than, smaller than, greater than or equal to, or smaller than or equal to. So now I say the length is greater than or equal to 2000 millimeters. You see here that you can make your filters as long as you want. You can use the AND or the OR function depending on how you want to structurize your filter. So I can say, for instance, here, or I want a length which is equal to 1500 millimeters. I can use the plus sign here to create another line, and this stretches out as long as you like. But now I just create my filter, and I can see here that these are added to this line. When I am finished adding my filters and I want to use this filter again for other projects, I can save my filter here. So I click on this sign, then I give this filter a name. Filter 1. And now when I see here, I can see that my filter 01 has been created. If I click this icon, it will be deleted. I can use the cross sign here to reset the filter, but this filter stays because I'm still in my profile section. So now I am going to group depending on the component ID, and I'm creating a filter in which the start angle is not equal to 0. Okay, this filter I will save as filter 02, and I can see here that my filter 2 has been added. When I go back to manage and I click manage filters, I can see here my 2 filters which I've made and the filters which it contains. So now I use my filter 2. Now I see here there are multiple groups. They're all summaries. To change the columns of the summary, I can use this button. When I click it, you see the configuration screen, and I can change the order. I can deselect this so you won't see, for instance, you won't see the count. When I apply this, you see my interface has changed. I can then alter the column width to make it like I want it. And I can also, when I'm satisfied with my layout, I can make a template out of it. So I make a new template. New, apply. What is the name for my template? Okay. Apply. So this is for the summary. I can also choose to display my details. So now I see every different profile in this list, and it does this for every summary differently. If I click this again, it will hide. And also the layout of these details can be altered here. For instance, when I want to see the start angle, I click here, I create a new template, I make it start angle, okay, apply. Maybe lose some of these functions. Apply. So in this manner you can create all the lists you would like. Then you have these different features. So there are three different kinds of panels. You have wall panels, you have floor panels, and you have roof panels. If you only want to see your wall panels, you can select here, and it creates a grouping of all the panels which are on display. So now these are selected, these aren't selected. If I click on the floor, you see that these are deselected. I can also click just on the labels separately. If you don't like this as a pop-up screen, you can just select this, and then it always appears in the front of your screen. So now I'm going to export the list from the CAD Reporting Tool. I'm going to do this in the subdivision frame. I'm going to choose, for instance, only panel 1, and I want to see the details of this panel. Then I want to change this back to default, apply, and change this back to default, apply. Let me see the start angle. I shut it down. Okay, so I'm satisfied with this layout. Now I'm going to check my print settings. I can change my size of the text, maybe make it a bit smaller. I can say I want a new page after the summary, but I'm not going to do that. And I want a new page after details. I also not going to do that. I want it in portrait mode, and I want it in this format. The company logo, you can just drag and drop it here. I just used a generic model. Then the company info, just your maybe the address and the name of your company. You can position it left or right, and you can change the text size. So these settings are all user dependent, so you just have to do it once, and it will be okay. So when I'm satisfied with this, I can just click this button. Then again, some of these settings are brought to the front, so you can also in a fast way change these. You can change the name, list 1, print, and you see here it has been generated. So this is what it would look like. If you can see here at the bottom, you see it's page 1 of 1, and you see all the filters that are used. Then also here you see the project name and the date when it was printed. If you have Acrobat Reader, you can also open this directly, not in your browser. So this was the demo for today. In the future, we're going to make a new demo for the calculation tool. But for now, feel free to use this tool and test it properly. We are happy to receive all your feedback. You can send this to info@cadservicebureau.be. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.